how the life has been in Germany.
Yeah, life's been good. I've been actually here since 6 years now because I came here in 2017.
We've been both born and brought up and living in Indore.
Yeah.
We had our education there. So how is it different culturally from where we are coming from?
But here in Germany, it's not to say that it's not fast paced. Again, there is a growth mindset there, but the approach is slightly different.
And Berlin is a party city. So how crazy it is. I've just heard stories. I've never been here.
Talking about the party thing, again, Berlin gives you both the flavors. So it's one of such cities in Europe that you stay at home. It's very residential, but then you cross one street and it's like everyone is partying.
I think there is a lag between how technology evolves and the education system itself, because they are still teaching, I'm talking about back in India, they are still teaching Java or old languages which are not being used that much. So what about them? What they should do?
If you focus on one layer below the abstraction, it is always going to help you. Having said that, it doesn't mean you don't have to learn new things, right? Because that is the whole point, that you keep evolving.
Hello everyone, welcome to Stay Indian. We talk about Indians living abroad, and today it's going to be very easy because I'm recording with my friend Kaivalya. Hi Kaivalya, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So Kaivalya lives in Germany for past 5 years. He has been working for companies like Zalando. Now he's working in Hubspot. Kaivalya, tell me how the life has been in Germany.
Yeah, life's been good. I've been actually here since 6 years now because I came here in 2017. And as you mentioned, I came here to join a company called Zalando. And it was a different experience because, it was like complete change for me. New people, new culture, new environment, new weather. So it's definitely a big challenge to move here. Because you change kind of everything, and you have to keep a lot of things in mind before you make that move. So life has been good. Since then, I've been working at multiple companies. After Zalando, I joined a company called Twilio, and now I'm working at Hubspot. And especially Berlin is very different when we talk about Germany. So yeah, life is good. I'm quite enjoying here.
So, Kaivalya, tell us about how, you talked about cultural changes or people changes. What difference does it make? How is it different from, we've been both born and brought up and living in Indore, we had our education there. So how is it different culturally from where we are coming from?
Yeah. So I think there are two dimensions to it. Like one is like the culture where like how we live, how we do things and stuff, and then the other one is the work culture, right? So I would start with work culture because that is also very different here. So when we come from especially Asian countries and also the US, because I've been working in mostly companies prior coming to Berlin, mostly companies who are US based. So there is a lot of US colleagues as well. And they have a different style of working, and it's fast paced, and there's a lot of things going on. But here in Germany, it's not to say that it's not fast paced. Again, there is a growth mindset there, but the approach is slightly different. So they have a very compartmentalized approach. So when you go home, you don't think about work. When you're at work, you don't bring in your personal life. So that was like a biggest difference for me when I came here. So while working in India, at least, so I'm speaking for myself here. It's not like generalizing the Indian work culture or something. But what I've seen with my friends and myself, I was casually, mixing these things together. And it kind of impacts you in long term because then you don't, you're not at work completely and you're not at home completely. So that was the biggest shift for me. And then having like a very strict schedule for your day is the another one, which again impacts your work and also your personal life. So when you say I start at 10 a.m. And then you start at 11, so that's not how things work here, right? If you say you start at 10, maximum 10:05, 10:10. That's it. You have to start your working. And when you
Yeah.
leave home, is if it's let's say 5 p.m., then 5 p.m. no one will work after that, right? So that level of strictness is there, and that means that puts a lot of responsibility on you, that between 10 to 5 you're actually working and not switching again. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest difference. So then, while after they go home, they focus on their family, hobbies, different things, whatever they want to do. They party hard. So it's not to say that, okay, when you go home, it's all done, you just relax and sleep. It's not like that. They have already planned calendars. So to tell you a funny story, once I was talking to a friend, and just randomly chatting about what's your plan for the weekend, and he asked me this question. I literally did not have like a very good plan. Like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
just relax. I'll think probably on Saturday that okay, let's go somewhere, and that somewhere will be decided, let's say, in 1 hour, and then we'll decide, slowly go there, and then come back within a couple of hours. I asked him the same question, and he had like a series of weekends planned in advance, right? Like, oh, this
Yeah.
this is the day I want to meet my parents, so I'm going to my native place. This is the time, the next weekend I'm going to meet my friends. I'm going to Amsterdam. I'm going to this place, and like the whole September, October, November, December, like it's all planned. So I never planned this way, at least. What I want to do over weekends and things like
Yeah.
that. So that was like
No,
the biggest shift.
totally agreed. I mean, I can relate to what you're saying by, because when I was also working in India, it used to be continuous thinking about work. You have your chat, you have your mail login into your phone. Whenever there is a new pop up, there is a new notification, you'll quickly get onto it. It doesn't matter what time it is, right? But then I think the whole of Europe has a different dimension, as you said, to it, right?
Yeah,
Work is work, and your personal life is personal, right? So they don't mix this up.
absolutely.
But yeah, and I think this is all across Europe, right? But the difference that you highlighted, that Berlin is a party city. So how crazy it is. I've just heard stories. I've never been there.
Talking about the party thing, again, Berlin gives you both the flavors. So it's one of such cities in Europe that you stay at home. It's very residential, but then you cross one street, and it's like everyone is partying. Right, there is some parade
Yeah.
going on. There is some party going on, music playing out loud. So I live very close to a river called Spree, and it's very residential area. But when I just cross the street, it's like
Whole
party
another
culture. Like
city.
everyone like is just alive, and even if it's like 10 p.m., it's nothing for them. For me, 10 p.m. is like sleeping time. I'm already asleep. But for some folks, it's really, oh, the night is begin, and they party hard, and that brings in a new type of challenge, because when you go out at night, because I've been to parties as well occasionally. So you don't feel like you're coming very late, because the whole Berlin is kind of still alive. So there is.
Yeah.
So I never, when I was in India, and maybe that's because uh, we come from a different generation. The after party concept, at least I did not know that there is something called
Yeah.
after party. So when party is there, okay, after party you just go home, right? But then there is after party, then there is after party version 2 and after party version 3, until you just get like you're until morning, like 6 a.m. in the
Yeah.
morning, 7 a.m. in the morning, they're just partying. So that kind of party hard culture. I've been to one, and then decided never to go that crazy because it's so hard, and it is not very something that suits me. So, but yeah, that's the culture, and that's the diverse aspect of Berlin.
Yeah, I think when you cross your mid 30s, or you start to enter mid 30s, your body starts to react to alcohol very differently. I mean, there is a huge shift. If it was like 2025, you can do after party version
Yeah,
4, 5 as well. But
absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know what happens, but that's the reality.
yeah. But you said that you switched a couple of jobs in Germany as well. So,
Yeah.
how difficult or how easy it is to kind of come for one company and then switch to another in Germany?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for mainly software domain, because or in the tech domain,
Mhm.
because I've only have experience there. But let's talk about opportunities first, right? Because to apply a job, you need job vacancies. So when I came here in 2017, so Zalando is pretty huge, like really one of the largest employers in Germany. It's a German company, pretty fast paced. They're growing pretty well. And working there was a pleasure. Um, but at that point, I don't remember having a lot of job vacancies in terms of startups or really fast-paced tech companies, or let's say the US-based companies. They were not here when I came here. There were some large enterprise companies, but it was pretty much whatever projects they had, they did not have enough vacancies here. Most of the work was already in maintenance mode, or handled from the US or some other part of the world. But it has changed drastically. If you look at the market scene now, even if we look at like a couple of years ago, it was changing, because there's a lot of startups coming in, and they have vacancies. They are ready to pay you well. So something like India and the US, it's not at the same level, I would say, because they are still a little bit restrictive, is what I felt. But then it's again, it boils down to how differently they think about work, about personal life, and the vision for their company. But that has changed. So now, if you look for a job, there are different types of companies like startups, scale-ups, and enterprises. They are pretty open to trying out new things. So they are innovating. It's not like they're using some legacy software, legacy technologies. But to give you an idea, so Rust is a new language, a new stack to use, and it's been pretty popular. And there are very few companies across the world who have adopted Rust. And I see some startups here in Berlin. They are, trying to invest in Rust, and hire developers who have experience in Rust. So that kind of tells you that they are ready for the challenge. They are ready to try out new things and push the boundaries, also in innovation, and bring in new talent. And they are pretty open about it. And the other one is, so once you have job vacancies, mainly for international candidates, I've seen they are pretty open for sponsoring the visas. Things have changed a bit post corona. They of course they saw a dip in the job vacancies. A lot of remote options were also open, so they could hire people from, let's say, outside, but still within Europe. So that has changed a bit, but it is coming back to the previous level. So where they are quite open to extending offers to international people, and sponsoring visas, or at least proceeding with the interviews to judge how they do in the interviews. So that has changed, and it's definitely improving at a very high pace.
Yeah. So even if when you say that it's improving at a high pace, I see a lot of Indian people also moving towards Germany. Previously it used to be US, UK, Australia, Canada, but now Germany is kind of evolving in a lot of immigrants and coming for studies or jobs. So it's changing at a very high pace. Yeah.
Absolutely. But one of the big reasons, sorry to cut you off there, but one of the big reasons, especially for education purpose, is, Germany is known for, its high quality education, right? And, especially for, postgraduates and, higher studies, it's really known for high quality. But at the same time, if you get good scholarship, studying here can be pretty cheap if we compare to the US, right? Or even premier institutes in India, like the private ones. So that is really what attracts good talent here who wants to study, who want to study higher education, or, in field of technology, mathematics, business, or something else. And that really opens a lot of doors for people. So yeah, that is definitely the biggest part.
Yeah, in my earlier episodes, I spoke to some of the students as well. So they highlighted the same facts. But I want to set this record straight that one of the reasons of starting the podcast was you. You kind of inspired. You have your own technology-based podcast, Geek Narrator. So I think you're the best person to answer this question: that how technically the landscape is changing in terms of startup. You talked about Rust, AI, there are pretty much a lot of things evolving. So what it means for technical jobs.
Yeah. Thanks, and I'm glad that I kind of inspired you, and I'm happy to do that. And to give a little bit of background, so I started a podcast called The Geek Narrator last year, and the only intention was to be to get that opportunity to discuss technical deep topics with experts in our industry, with my colleagues, and that's how I started. And I talk about technology, I talk about software engineering, distributed systems, databases. So I kind of like doing it because it gives you that learning opportunity. So for hosting a guest, you have to also prepare. You have to learn. You have to do some experiments and understand what kind of questions would make sense. So yeah, I love doing that. So do check it out if you like it. On your question, I think it is changing a lot. At a very high pace, especially after the large language models have become so popular. Like common people have access to it, and I have seen, uh, talking about like the development process itself, or even learning process itself. If you are using any large language model, let's say for example ChatGPT or Google Bard, that improves your productivity a lot. All the mundane tasks that you were doing initially or previously, before you had access to these technologies, they are becoming really like matter of seconds for you. Like, so there is a notion that AI is going to eat the jobs. That is some way true, but only the jobs that are mundane, that are repetitive, and that can be easily automated. So as far as you are learning and you are up to the pace, and you are using all these tools to improve the quality of your work and efficiency of your work, I think that is not going to be a problem for you. So yes, that landscape is really changing because a lot of startups are coming up on top of these AI technologies, natural language processing, understanding your emails, better fraud detection, all these content writing platforms, finding. So, for example, Medium, right? They one of the most popular blogging website. Uh, People are now writing blogs that are written by AI, right? So that is the another problem as well, because for these websites, it's a challenge, because you have to know what blog is written by a person versus what is an automated way. So they are also doing a lot of things on top of this to prevent these kind of like bot written or chat gpt written blogs, because they need some personalization, like some experienced backed blogging, and not just okay, write a blog on this and you just push it on Medium and it's done. So it also creates new type of challenges for these companies. But with challenges, there are opportunities. There are many new companies who are using ChatGPT in their workflows, automating it, and really creating new businesses on top of it. So it is definitely changing at a high pace. So I recommend everyone keeping a touch on how to do things with LLMs. Understand prompt engineering, because that is really game changing for your workflow. Whatever you do, doesn't matter. Even if you're a product manager or UX person or a developer or tester, whatever you do, I think there is some way you can leverage these tools to make your work at a very high quality, and improve the efficiency. So yeah, it is changing a lot, and you just have to keep up with it.
So I think in those contexts, I recently read an example which was kind of perfect fit. There was an office, let's say, in early 50s, 1950s, 40s, they used to have a receptionist. Now, the role of that receptionist was to record who is coming in and out, right? Simple. She used to do it in a register. And after 20, 30 years, computers came in, widely used, but she was not able to operate it. So they had to let her go. I mean, a lost job due to technology, but they hired another receptionist, which was good with computers. Okay, so the job did not change, only the form changed, only the tool changed. So instead of using pen and paper, now you have to write it in a computer. I think that's what's going to happen with AI as well, that, there won't be a loss of job, but there will be a change in how you do things. And I think that's what you are also talking about.
Absolutely, and that's when the importance of evolving along with the technology. So if she could have learned how to use a computer, how to automate these tasks, and do something more for her company, then her job would have been safe. But
Yeah.
that kind of vision, having that vision, like how can I, not considering it as a threat, but using it as an ally in your path. I think that's the trick, and you have to find ways doing that, right? You can't just sit around and doing the same things for many years until it becomes obsolete, and then suddenly your job is no more there, right? Same for there was a job called like QA testers, right? And I'm talking about the manual testing jobs, right? And I'm talking about 10 years ago. So people used to just manually look around and, okay, if this website, this button is working, and the message is shown is correct and all that. Those jobs are less and less relevant now. People still use it. Some in some use cases, but it's all automated. There are ways to do it. So those kind of things, I think people should try to identify patterns, and then understand the risk. Is my job at risk? If I am doing what a machine can do, then definitely it is, because machine always does it better, unless it's really creative work, unless it's really where there is emotional factor attached. Machines don't have that kind of ability yet. But if it's just pumping out something like an output, it's definitely going to beat you, and you have to use it to before it beats you, right? So I think that's the trick.
Yeah. And I think machines are getting into creativity as well. You see a lot of AI written videos, AI generated videos written like PyPar. It's crazy. But I think we spoke about people who already are doing some kind of jobs, but what about people who are getting into the industry, right? So who have just passed out of college? I think there is a lag between how technology evolves and the education system itself. Because they are still teaching. I'm talking about back in India. They are still teaching Java or old languages which are not being used that much. So what about them? What they should do extra?
Yeah. I think this is a very common question, and whenever I talk to, so I host some one-on-ones with people, and mostly these people are freshers, or they are just like a couple of years in the industry, and they have this confusion. We have been taught, let's say, Java or Python, in or let's say C++, and these are pretty old languages. But I asked them this question, like, what makes you think these are obsolete? Because I think the more focus people put on the syntax and the high level stuff, they will feel obsolete in a way or other, right? Because whatever Java I wrote 10 years ago, that is all gone, because it's all changed. Like Java is also evolving. So considering something is obsolete is not the right way to think about it. But understanding one layer down the abstraction is important. So when I say that, what I mean is, so when you write Java, right, what you're doing is, so Java is just a way to instruct the machine what to do. But that involves some problem solving ability, some understanding of how this conversion of my code to the machine language is happening. So as far as you understand one layer below the abstraction, it is always going to help you. But then, because then you are one level below, so whatever the top layer is, be it Java, Python, C++, or anything, you can easily replace it. You might have to learn some new language paradigm or something, the way of programming or way of testing things. But it's easier because the basic is going to be the same. It's not changing, right? That is not going to change. So I recommend to everyone that Java, Python, C++, whatever it is, focus on problem solving part of it. Create a lot of projects, so you also have like real world application understanding of how I am going to use Java for this purpose. And talking about Java and Python specifically, right, they are evolving quite a bit. Python and Java both are not going anywhere in maybe another decade, because Python is heavy in data science. Python, there are so many third-party libraries or extension libraries that people can just use very quickly to do some complex mathematical computation, or even to create a web server, or it's really huge. So even if you're learning a very old language, if you focus on one layer below the abstraction, it is always going to help you. Having said that, it doesn't mean you don't have to learn new things, right? Because that is the whole point, that you keep evolving. So keep an eye on different tech talks, different things that are happening over the world, because the best part is it's all open information for you. You have the information. You just search around, you just Google, and you'll find what are people thinking about it. You don't have to even read like huge white papers or blogs for it. You can just ask for a summary, and there will be like bullet points. Okay, what is going on in this industry? What is happening with Rust? What is happening with Go? Or what is happening with a new database, for example? So that is always going to be changing. But my recommendation is to keep learning and focusing on one layer below the abstraction. That will always help people.
I think that is really important, and as you said, information is so readily available these days. Just
Yeah.
imagine 15 years ago when we were entering the market. Yeah, I mean it was totally different scenario. You had to
Yeah.
that has completely changed. But how about when these students you speak to? So what is the general perception in terms of Indian market versus German market in
Yeah.
technology?
Um, and things have really changed drastically. So when, at least talking about my case, when I was a fresher, I just wanted any job that will give me some money and some experience. And there was a thing called bench, which means you be with the company, but you don't have any projects to work on. And that is I did not want to be there, because I wanted to work. Money was important, but not the first priority, because even getting like 10,000 rupees was a big thing for me, as my first job. But I wanted to focus on the work, the quality of work I do. And when I got my first project, I was really excited. I did not even look at what project it is. It was a financial insurance company, and we were supporting their software. Fast forward now, if I were to graduate, let's say in 2023, it's a different story, because by the end of your graduation, you would have built, let's say, 10, 20 projects. You would have your portfolio website. You would have done a couple of internships. You already have the real world experience, and then that's what increases your expectations, right? Like, okay, I have done so many things, I should get like a good job, and a high paying job as well. And jobs are there, right? It's not uh, like a problem. I mean, right now it's a different story because layoffs are happening, and but it's becoming normal again.
Yeah.
The one problem I see is a lot of impatience. So as soon as I get out of college, I have 1 year of experience. People want to try out new things, and they just want to, let's say, move to a different country, or apply somewhere, or just they're confused between, should I move to data science, or should I learn something new technology? And while they do that, they want to leave what they're currently doing, right? And I think that is a problem, because learning something new can always be a side thing to do, right? It doesn't need to be, you just leave your job and start moving to data science, for example. Or for moving outside India, to give you that example, that is like a very hot topic. Like, once you have 1 year of experience, you want to go out and try out new things, which is good. People do that, but then it also removes your focus from the main thing, which is getting a good experience, right? So you can go to, let's say, the US, or for that matter Europe, for any company. You might not get the good quality of work. Money is again subjective. These days startups pay really well, and I would say any startup, let's say in Bangalore, at a good level, they can beat the packages here in Europe, right?
I agree.
Easily, after if after you consider your tax and your way of working, and the other expenses. I think it is going to be a better deal to stay in Bangalore. So people don't consider that as well. So I think a little bit of understanding of what is the primary goal in my early career, I think that is important, and that should be good quality work and good quality experience. Because otherwise, okay, short term you can do stuff, you can move around, but it becomes a problem in the long term, because the foundation itself is a bit broken. So that's what I keep suggesting people, that have a clear goal. If you have, let's say you're cracking like a really amazing company, and you're working on one of the coolest projects, go for it. It's not a problem, and you have to try it out, right? I, can't say that this is bad, this is good. Everyone can judge for themselves. But having that impatience and losing focus on the real thing is a problem. So I recommend everyone, make the foundation, especially people who are coming from tier 3 colleges, who have done projects on their own, but the foundation is a bit lacking there, right? Like, don't have the understanding of, let's say, the fundamentals. And that becomes a problem when you want to grow in your career.